Hello and welcome to the This Works For Me Virtual Summit. I'm your host, Faith Watson. I am the Director of the Faculty Development Center at Murray State University. Test review strategies can help students learn the course material prior to the test. But what about the errors that students make during the test? Well, our guest today, Dr. Melony Shemberger, will be providing us with some strategies that we could use to help our students learn from the errors that they made during the test. Dr. Shamburger, thank you very, very much for taking the time to share with us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Dr. Melony Shemberger, and I teach in the Journalism and Mass Communications Department at Murray State University. I'm an associate professor. I've been here since 2013, and I'm also serving as the faculty regent on the university's Board of Regents. But being in the classroom and learning from what other faculty do and then sharing what I do, that's really what I enjoyed the most about my job.
Right, thanks for sharing that. We know you have a wealth of experience and we're looking forward to this conversation. So could you clarify for us, what is a test autopsy?
Sure. So if you think about what an autopsy is in the medical sense, it's a process that allows the medical doctors to examine why somebody died. Well, let's apply that logic to a test autopsy. Why did a student not do well on an exam? So this allows a student, after the exam results have been released or shared or returned back to the student, then there's a process that could then follow in which the student is going to find out what went wrong. So that is what a test autopsy is.
Thank you for clarifying that. And could you help us understand what impressed you to start using test autopsies and how have this strategy worked for you?
Sure. So I already in my classes, I do a test review about a day or two prior to when the exam is going to be conducted. I have found, and I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years with test reviews, I have found that they work really well. Students look forward to them because it helps them to zero in on the content that they know that they will be tested on. So we go through that process. Well, it wasn't until a book club meeting in the Faculty Development Center at Murray State that I learned about this method in the book that we were reading. And the book, by the way, is Teaching at Its Best, and the author is Nielsen. So when I learned about this particular method, I thought, well, I already do a test review. I haven't done anything really after to see are students really kind of gaining from their errors. They're gaining in the test review as far as they know the content. But we all know when people take tests, things can, the feelings get going, they're getting maybe confused or whatever, or they're not reading questions right. So then that gives us the process to, let's see what happened after the test. So I started putting that together, and I did that in my courses in the spring 2019 semester, and it has worked really well. So students have, while they've always shown improvements after a test review, I have noticed some improvements when they went through the test and examined, wow, I realized I didn't read this question well. That's why I had points docked. Or I was in a hurry and I knew I was and I had points docked. So this now allows them an opportunity to kind of keep those things in mind. So the test autopsy, actually, I used a form, and it's right here, and it'll also be included in the resources for this presentation. But there is a form, and really you can get this online, but it's through the Oregon State University Academic Success Center. And what the form does is it allows the students to mark the question that they missed, the points that they lost, and the question type, such as multiple choice, essay, fill in the blank, etc. And then this is where the autopsy really occurs for the student. They get to examine, going back through the test, why did I miss those points? Was it because I was careless? Sometimes that's what happens with students. Am I unfamiliar with that material? Even though we may have done the test review, but maybe still something wasn't clicking and I didn't take the initiative to ask about it. maybe misread the question. And that has been, I have found with students, that tends to be the number one reason why they've had points lost. And maybe just didn't finish the test. Maybe they just ran out of time. And then there's a column for other. That gives them an opportunity to tell me a reason that might not be on that form. So this has had some promising results with them. And so then the next test occurs, say a month later in the course, and they're remembering, I've got to slow down. I've got to, maybe even while they are preparing for the test in their studies, I've got to pay more attention to what I'm being quizzed on or being tested on, knowing how Dr. Shemburger likes a lot of essay questions. And now we are understanding better how to respond to essay questions. So this kind of directs their learning process a little differently and helping them to retool how they really prepare for examinations.
Wow. Thanks for sharing with us how it works. Now, I know you mentioned a few things that students did in response to the test autopsy strategy, but could you elaborate a little bit more? How have students been responding to this strategy?
Sure. So this is the way I do it also. This test autopsy is voluntary for them. It's not required, so they don't have to do it. But what I do offer is some extra credit points added on to their exam score, because I really want them to take the initiative to take some time to really go through each question that they missed, revisit that material in some way, and then find out, why did I miss that question? So they mark up the form, and then they're able to take the form and they can scan it, upload it back into the Canvas learning management system. I don't mind if they just take even a photo on their camera and upload it. It does not matter to me, or they can just print it out and turn it in to me. But then I look at it and I'm like, okay, but here's the thing, even what I have learned. So if I am noticing that many students are marking unfamiliar with material, then that tells me I'm not maybe doing my job a little bit, like just better than what I should be doing. So that tells me I'm going to have to spend more time maybe in the next semester, or if that material is going to be revisited later in the semester, I'm going to have to really, focus in on this better. So, it is a benefit also to the instructor as much as it is to the student. But students have responded really well. They do like this. I mean, it's a few extra credit points, 5, but nevertheless, they like it. And what I've also noticed, not many questions are missed. So I have been able to take some of the students' forms in the past, and normally I would have, maybe they would fill out several of these rows. The number of rows is starting to reduce. So, I'm noticing how they're really using these forms to their advantage.
Wow, that's excellent. So what do you do to ensure that students know that you have purposefully considered their feedback on that form?
So I am very transparent with them. I tell them what this is. I tell them why I'm doing it, not just for them, but also for me. So that way they have a clear understanding of why we are doing this. Students are appreciative of this particular tool. They have indicated to me in person, as well as even the end of semester evaluations. And that's one of the things that was noted, how they really liked that extra step, and not just getting an exam score back and then forgetting about it, but now they're looking at their score and going back to the material in the hopes that then that material becomes more strengthened in their thinking. So as they build on through the semester, they're realizing where their errors are.
So now that you have used this test autopsy strategy, are there anything that you would change about what you have done in the past?
So one of the things I'm thinking about doing this semester, first of all, I offered in 2 courses in the spring. One was a 100 level course, and then the other one was an intermediate course in the curriculum. And the reason why I chose the intermediate was because there are a lot of nuts and bolts type of information that the students have to know in our field. So I'm teaching both courses again this semester. So what I plan on doing is, even though they give the form back to me and I see it, we're going to go a little extra step to where I also now want to do maybe some one-on-one a little bit to make sure, are we, and I want to know too, what are they really doing though to make sure they're not being as careless? So I'm thinking about maybe another extra credit type of assignment to maybe explain some things rather than just checking the boxes, but let's have an opportunity to explain, to really discuss. So I think that's the next layer in this process that I'm going to take.
So do you think somebody who could try this strategy could perhaps do a debrief session with the entire class as well as individual, or?
I think either way is good. It depends on what the instructor's class size might be and time limitations. But I think that even doing a debrief in class, just taking 15 to 20 minutes, oh yes, I think that would be powerful.
Okay. So I think this strategy is very useful, but I imagine that someone might be saying, I really resonate with what you have shared today, but I'm still a little bit hesitant. I'm not even sure what's the first step to really begin. What would you say to this person?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would tell this person is, let's get the form and let's look at the form. Now, of course, you can take the form and you can modify it any way that you want. It doesn't have to be just this form. The test autopsy can work in any way that the instructor deems necessary. But really, like I said before, it really helped me in my instruction as well, especially if many students are saying they're unfamiliar with the material, or even if they misread the question. Maybe I didn't phrase the question like it should be. So maybe, it gives me an opportunity for error diagnosis as well. So, I think that's the big benefit. We want to improve in our teaching. This is kind of one way to do that. And then, of course, I want my students to do well, but I want them to understand what it means to do well. It means that, yes, you're going to have to take the time to study. We do fun test reviews in class, but that's not all that the test is going to cover. And I make sure they understand that. So I really want them to understand the reason for the test. It's not just an exercise just to do for a grade. The material that I share with them on this test, this is really crucial material that I want them to know from here on out. But I think the first thing the instructor should do is just get a copy of the form and then really plan from there to see what kind of autopsy could be done.
Okay, great. So are there any resources that you would like to recommend for our viewers to review?
Sure. So the one book that I did reference from Nielsen, Teaching at Its Best, it's 2016. So in this particular book, in which the copy of the test result or test autopsy, I believe, was included, I can't remember if she included the form or there's a link to the form, but I have a copy. Yes. There we go.
I have several copies. I'm not sure. Let me see if this is the.
Okay. I can't remember if she included the form or the link to the form.
Yeah, this is the 2016.
Excellent.
Teaching at Its Best.
Yes. And in this one chapter, she talks about the test autopsy as a way to help students direct their learning. So there are concepts of self-directed learning, self-regulated learning, and I think a test autopsy can help a student get on that path. So that's a really great resource, and that's what I would really suggest to instructors. The literature review about test autopsies is just starting. There's really not that much out there. So I like to think that this might be kind of a nice little innovative method in which we can help students to become better students.
Wow. Thank you very much. And viewers, I would encourage you to check out the resources that Dr. Shamburger will be pointing to, and especially the form. It really seems to be a useful resource. So, Dr. Shamburger, is there a challenge or an encouragement that you'd like to leave our viewers with today?
Sure. So one of the things that I'm always encouraging faculty, you just got to try new things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, But I think students appreciate when you're trying to do something different to help them. And if you're just transparent about it with them, everything goes really well. So I'm always encouraging faculty, just try it. You don't know until you try it. And then I think another encouragement is really to always seek some student impact or feedback as well, because that's really impactful for your teaching. It's a partnership in this whole testing world. So, you know, I think this process helps both the instructor and the learner.
I like that. It's a partnership. We should not underestimate that at all. Well, Dr. Shemburger, thank you very much for taking the time to share with us today.
Thank you.
And viewers, I encourage you to share this episode with others and check out the resources below and join the conversation. You perhaps could share how you have done test autopsy in the past or other alternatives that you have used. Definitely join the conversation below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of this virtual summit. See you soon.